that very next person, whether they are, the CEO within the building, they are the MD, they are the financial director, they are the cleaner, they're still, human. And really, I think this is part of the journey that I've really walked, where I thought all I needed was my technical skills to run a business. Having an attitude that says there's absolutely nothing that I cannot do. Because before you are a woman, before you are black, you are a specialist.
We are giving away a free laptop. Why?
You can't show them flames without one. You can look super intelligent without even trying.
Yeah, we'll send through the budget.
You can also take online meetings and still get important paperwork done at the same time. And if that's not enough, we're adding some muscle by giving away business support services.
A diagnostic assessment, roadmap to success, coaching session, marketing kit, and company or tax compliance.
So, if you're a budding entrepreneur and you'd like a new laptop and some muscle, like, share and follow Unconventional CA on all social media platforms, and you could be the lucky winner. Good luck.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of our podcast series. Today I've got a special guest, Ndilisa Didiza, the Managing Director for Kgothatso Innovation Solutions, a geospatial technology business. Ndilisa, welcome and thank you for your time today joining us on this podcast. We appreciate it. How are you today?
Thank you, Hiten. I'm very well, thank you. So it's Kgothatso. Kgothatso Innovations, yes.
How did this name Kgothatso come up?
Sure. So I registered the business shortly after I lost an aunt of mine who played a very important role in the person that I had become. And it made sense to name it after her. She was born as Nomava but married and was given the name Kgothatso, which really means motivation and to encourage. And I thought it would be to honor her, as well, by naming my business Kgothatso Innovations.
That's a very interesting personal story that you have to share, and you use two words, motivation and encourage is the meaning behind it.
Yes.
So if I had to just ask you from a business principles perspective, when it comes to your cultural value itself, what are the key business principles taking into account that Kgothatso means encourage and motivate?
I think because we want to set ourselves, or rather set the business as leaders, right? We need to be able to do it in such a way that we encourage others to learn and emulate and even do better than what we are doing, right? And that's really where the encouragement comes in, I believe. But also to say there's nothing you can't do, out there. The industry is an exciting one. There's a lot of growth within it. But, go out and explore, go out and learn, go out and break down the barriers and really do what you were brought on this earth to do, to shine really and break all the boundaries and barriers. So that's one of the things that personally for me, I feel that as business people, we don't have those conversations with ourselves very much where we're saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn from the others who have done it and even do better, or do it like them, but still also, there's room to do it even better. So really, it's about encouraging others. However, yes, the business is more on the innovation side and more on the geospatial side. But like you say, those are some of the core values that we want to actually impart onto others within the space.
So it sounds like your business has been founded on the basis of passion and purpose, with a real strive to be both innovative but make a sustainable change to your customer market that you're serving. So in your experience, why is the importance of having that cultural dynamic in a team critical to success?
Because you do business with people first, before you transact through your banks and all of that. And I think for us, it's quite key to acknowledge, that you are dealing with another human being, right? And that's really the culture, to say, that the very next person, whether they are, the CEO within the building, they are the MD, they are the financial director, they are the cleaner, they're still, human. And that's one of the things that I really try to instill within the business, within the team, to say, treat others as you would like to be treated. I know it's a term that we overuse, but sometimes we walk into spaces and we forget it. And I feel that, it's quite important that before you even start talking business, you greet the person that you meet in the passage, for example. You might not know that they're actually coming to the same meeting that you will be in. So yes, and we talk a lot about Ubuntu as well, so those are just some of the things that I feel that as people, it's the culture that we need to bring into our small businesses, because remember, we're not going to be small businesses forever. You're going to have many people that you're going to impact. You're going to have many lives that you're going to impact. And so how do you start that gradually? Start it with a small team. And as people come into the business, they adopt that kind of culture. And I think it also talks more to later on, in our communities. What kind of person are you? Are you someone that people can easily approach? And, are you, in terms of the communities that we all engage in and get involved in? So really, I think it starts in our small, in our offices, in our spaces, in our recreational activities, to say we are all people. So at the end of the day.
You make a critical point around the fact that we're dealing with people, but you brought up a second point that's more important, that you're not only going to be an SME forever in a day.
Yes.
Now, I'll come back to this, but to go back to the people side of elements, in order to be successful from a business perspective, so many entrepreneurs undermine the importance of the soft skills, the people side of skills. Just what benefit have you seen, if you have to outline 2 benefits that are critical when developing your softer skills as an entrepreneur, what benefit has that relayed to you in the long term?
I think let me start by saying that I've had to learn. I've had to learn, and really I think this is part of the journey that I've really walked, where I thought all I needed was my technical skills to run a business, where I thought that, no, I don't need to know how to be able to pick up a telephone, call somebody I've never spoken to, and start telling them what we do and why we do it and why they need to talk to us and do business with us. So yes, and I must say it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy learning experience, because you have to step out of that comfort zone. It's okay when you're sitting there doing, GIS maps, the client phones you over the phone, you take the request, you give them a quotation, and all of that. But really, a lot of times that starts obviously with now meeting that client out there and, having that engagement. So I've had to learn and teach myself how to do those kind of calls, how to approach people. And it really talks a lot to the listening part. We get excited in terms of the technology that we do, the fact that we can give you information or location intelligence. And we want to just talk, right? But remember that there's a person sitting on the other side that needs to understand how you can solve the problem that they have. One of the things that I always like to express is, yes, the solutions are there. We're always going to have them. But it's very important to first understand what the problem is, and then customize the solution to actually, fit that particular client's problem.
So I'm going to summarize something for you, and I want you to repeat the part: listening and putting yourself in the shoes of your customer after I repeat this phrase. So if you're an entrepreneur out there and you're struggling to grow your business from a business development perspective or from a sales perspective, hear it from the word of the mouth of a successful entrepreneur I'm sitting with today, who has experienced the importance of
listening to your client and making sure that you put yourself in their shoes.
Perfect. Love that. It's so critically important. SMMEs so often undermine the importance of business development and being a salesperson and having those softer skills that will inevitably lead to you gaining more clients and engagements, especially if you're dealing with a B2B corporate market. Though the above line marketing can create the brand awareness, but most of the decision makers are not really going to say, hey, I'll click here, buy now. It's not like a product that you're selling off the shelf.
True.
So
And really, like I say, it's a skill that one really, just like your technical skills, you have to continuously, improve on it, continuously engage with people and get the feedback as well. I think that's quite important, which we sometimes don't do. We might lend the sale, but we don't get that feedback. Maybe that person didn't like how you approached them the very first time you spoke. But you find that later on they got to see the real you and got to understand where you were coming from. But they're not comfortable to share that early on, So it's quite important as well, as part of that growing, to really get feedback from your clients in terms of how was the engagement, how did I communicate? And it doesn't have to be a big job in order for you to get that feedback. I mean, I know with us, for example, we may create maps, which is one of the basic offerings in terms of the business. Create maps for a specific environmental report, for example. It might be 5 maps, 6 maps, 20 maps, but we want to get that feedback in terms of how did we communicate with you from starting the job, and really just managing your expectations throughout, the process of making those maps and making sure that at the end of the day, you are able to sit there with your maps that you are happy with. We have covered all your needs, or addressed all your questions as well, so that at the end of the day, everyone is satisfied and grows from that. Because I always say that every interaction, every client interaction, there's room for growth, right? As much as we can be doing all the activities within the business over and over again, but the clients are different. There's always going to be something new to learn with each person that you engage with. And it sets you for the growth for the next, client engagements.
You've again brought up a critical point in terms of customer feedback. I was actually having a discussion on another podcast episode with a lady who's in the retail industry, Dineo Makubela.
Okay.
And she emphasized the importance of customer feedback and how that plays a pivotal role towards the growth of your business in terms of client retention and returning business coming in. Have you experienced that in your environment?
Quite a lot. We actually have one of our mining clients that has come back to us to say, you have offered us this solution and it has enabled us to do ABC. However, now we feel that we can make it even more, enhance it together, in a partnership, work together, because we're the technical gurus, if I can say so, but we bring the industry experience, right? So we can now sit down together and customize it and craft this solution and take it out to the market. So, and we wouldn't have had that if we didn't sit down to say, had a feedback, normally we do it via a quick form or a quick phone call. We wouldn't have had that where they actually share with us that actually this is actually how we can enhance. Now, that's growth. That benefits everyone, because now it opens up more opportunities for Kgothatso Innovations, right? And also for our partner as well, the mining client as well that I'm referring to. So yes, no, you cannot underestimate that. And I think, Hiten, one of the things that are important is having that system in place to say, how do I make sure that customer feedback is there? When is it done? And also when you bring in people into the business, because most of us, we're running one-man shows, right? And sometimes there's a lot, not sometimes, there's a lot that there's all those hats that you have to wear. And some things slip, you go to conferences and you make excellent leads, you come back and you follow up on some of them, and others because now you're chasing the next work and you let it, it slips. But it's so important to actually just keep those engagements going, and especially when you do land those projects, with the clients, just to get that feedback, because then it sets you up for the next clients.
Interesting that you mentioned that. So guys, If you haven't got your customer feedback system in order from a business perspective, just remember you might be losing out on the following opportunities. Product innovation from a business perspective, and recurring clientele coming in where you could deploy new offers or features to that existing business itself. You're then leaving money on the table ultimately, and this is proof from the pudding from a successful entrepreneur who is in the technology environment that is forever rapidly evolving and disruptive. From an innovation perspective, then the need to stay ahead of the curve from a competitor's perspective cannot be undermined. So just be mindful of that. If your business is sitting at a plateau from a ceiling perspective, you may just want to tap into your existing customer base, get some feedback, and understand further what else could be enhanced in your product or service offering that your client is actually looking for.
That's it.
Thank you, Ndilisa. I really appreciate that feedback. It's wise wisdoms that you're sharing that many people often undermine in the softer elements because, like you mentioned, we're so focused on the technical side of it, we don't realize that there's the softer strategic matters that are critical when you're starting out from a business perspective.
That's it.
Have you checked out the UCA Hub? If you're an entrepreneur out there and you need business templates, tools, or you're looking for content and to learn from experts in the field to help your business scale and grow and provide you with all the templates that are needed from an infrastructure perspective, then sign up to our hub today.
So just a fun question out of the blue, I'm going to ask you, if you had to ever listen to a song that you would want to keep forever in a day, what would that song be?
Sure. I'm Unstoppable by, is it Sia?
I love that. Look at that. I'm Unstoppable. That's one of our actual songs we use in our summits and that.
Oh
Interesting.
my word, that's amazing.
So it's part of the
And
personal
it's-
mastery journey. The one
Yes.
element we discuss is incantations.
Okay.
And it's about wiring your brain and your body to
Okay.
believe in yourself. So the fact that you're
Yes.
saying I'm unstoppable is one of the songs that you want to wire yourself to believe that you can
Yes.
succeed ultimately. And
Yes.
I get the sensing from you, especially being a female entrepreneur in such a male-dominated environment, you've got a strong mindset to where you know you want to go and nothing is going to perturb you and stop you.
No,
Why?
true. Because like you say, there are not many of us within this environment in terms of women, especially black women, right? And I think having an attitude that says there's absolutely nothing that I cannot do. Because before you are a woman, before you are black, you are a specialist. You are, you've learned, you've gone to school like this, like all other people, right? But for some reason, not for some reason, I think for many various reasons, we know that society is not at a point where it recognizes that women can do absolutely anything, So we often have to, as women, to talk to ourselves, to but to rather get the message out there that we are unstoppable, that we can do absolutely anything that we set ourselves to because we've got the experience, we've got the know-how, we've got the brains, and there's nothing that we cannot do. So it's quite key, Hiten. It's really quite key for us to, when we go out there, to do so confidently. Because then that can also take out some of the doubts that when you walk into that boardroom, they look at you and they say, oh, okay, there's a skirt there. I wonder what she knows, what she has to say. But that confidence, that you walk in there with immediately sets the tone. And of course, because you know your story, make sure that it is heard, make that voice heard everywhere that you go. And sometimes you might find that some people may say, oh no, you are appearing a bit too bold. No, because remember, it's about setting the scene and making sure that everyone understands that you, like everyone else, has every right to be on that table.
I want you to repeat this no part, because I'm going to make a statement here. If you're an entrepreneur, and I want you to repeat all the elements that you spoke about, the personal element, the confidence element, and why it's so critical, especially in a boardroom that is potentially dominated by the opposite gender
Yes.
and potentially a different race, taking into account what our country has gone through, why it's critical.
Yes.
So if you're an entrepreneur out there and you feel the lack of confidence, or confidence is actually not important for you when it's the time to go into a boardroom and you're having a discussion or negotiation with a key corporate executive member, maybe you should just keep your confidence low.
Definitely no. You cannot walk in there feeling low. You have to go in there with the confidence because you have done the work. You have the experience. You have every right to be there, exactly like everyone else within that room. So go in there with confidence, because what are you doing by going in there with the confidence? You are setting the tone so that no one gets a chance to even start undermining you before they have even heard you talk.
Perfect. I love it. You really set up some wise words of wisdom and experience here that I think many female entrepreneurs could benefit from and actually utilize in their favor, because we're such in a subdivided society at the moment where fingers are pointed at females and women when they get into a boardroom that is dominated by males and overcome. Yet you yourself are dealing in a mining industry that is predominantly male dominated, and you are successful in it, and not just providing a product off the shelf itself. You're providing a technology service that takes years of experience to develop and put together in the long run. So massive congratulations to you. I must hold my hat out to you and commend you for all the work and effort that you're doing, and I wish you everything of the best going forward into the future. Where can our listeners find out more about Kgothatso Innovations and yourself? Tell us.
Well, when I'm not out cycling, wearing a Kgothatso Innovations jersey, you'll find us. You'll find me on LinkedIn. You'll find us on also on LinkedIn as well for the business as well. So there's a business page, NY1. And of course, our team as well is also there. You just have to search for Kgothatso Innovations. You can also find us on our website, which is also kgothatsoinnovations.co.za. We are there and growing on the TikTok side and Facebook, but mostly LinkedIn is where we get to interact and share quite a lot of the exciting things that we get up to at Kgothatso Innovations.
Awesome. Look forward to it. What we'll do is throw that into our comments box and into all the posts and make sure that people get to know more about you. Last question. What book have you read that has changed your life and why?
I know this has been said many times, but it is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Why?
That is where the spark to say this 9 to 5 doesn't make sense came. And I was still working.
Of course.
I was still employed at the time. But really, it did open up my mind, especially very early on, because I was still coming straight from varsity. I think I was 2 years into my employment, my very first employment at the time. And I read the book and I got to understand why I was experiencing what I was experiencing, the questions of, no, this is not me. It just, yes, I have access to credit. I've got a salary at the end of the month, but this is not me. And obviously a lot of other questions that came through that to say, why does it feel unnatural being employed for me? And I'm not saying that not all of us are meant to be business owners, right? We understand that. But for me, it just didn't make sense. And I would have these questions up until I read that book. Then I started, some of the things started, unraveling and all of that. And I mean, after the 2 years at the company I was at, when I joined the second company, I said, this is my second and my last job. And indeed, 5 years later, Kgothatso Innovations was born. And I embarked on the journey and never looked back.
So the entire seed was literally planted through a change in your mindset and a belief system.
That's it,
So
essentially.
if you're an entrepreneur out there or aspiring to be an entrepreneur, hear it from Ndilisa herself. She's mentioned She's read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Go ahead and get yourself a copy of that book. I have also read it. I strongly recommend it. But the biggest lesson that you have to learn is if you want to start something, it starts with you in your mind and your thought process and your belief system. Get that right, everything else will start to follow.
Yes, and you'll know, I think a lot of people, or rather a lot of questions that I get when people are considering doing the jump from, employment to entrepreneurship is, how did you know that it was time? And for me, I must be honest, I felt it. It became uncomfortable it became difficult rather, not even uncomfortable, to wake up every morning. There was nothing driving me to still contribute. Yes, I was still doing, my job, but I felt like there's more, that I need to do. And I just told myself, look, give yourself some time. Yes, I may not have planned for the shift as well as I should have, which I think is another lesson some of us only realize or make much later on when we've done the jump and you're like, my savings are not as good as I thought.
Oh, that really did there.
And now you find yourself, you've done the jump, you've started this journey and it's tough and you're running out of funds because the work is not coming in. Because remember, you think, oh, I'm technical, I can talk to a mine, I can talk to the engineers, I can talk to the environmental guys, I'll get work, it's okay. No.
Not that easy.
No. Can you learn how to sell first? Can you learn how to find the people to sell to first, right? Can you learn how to talk to them? And can you learn how to respond when they say no? So I know I'm digressing a bit, but essentially, really, it was that kind of awakening for me, at the time when I eventually did my jump, because I felt, look, as much as I've experienced the being uncomfortable, this is where I'm meant to be. And it was lonely. It was very lonely. And I'm grateful these days that it's not as lonely, right? And I think that's one of the reasons that we've been able to make the strides that we've made as a business, because now you've got platforms, you've got enterprise development programs, you've got supplier development programs, you've got networks, right? You've got others that have gone before you, and you've got access to them now. I mean, I use LinkedIn a lot because there's a lot of people there that I follow because they've walked this journey that I'm trying to walk. There's no better way of learning, right? Because this is stuff we don't find it in textbooks.
Right.
No one says just after you leave school, oh, you're studying a business, yeah, right? But nowadays that is changing. We see it with the programs that are being run we're seeing with the work that you do, as well. So it gets better. But back then,
So going back then, to your point, at that stage where you're alone and lonely, you mentioned, you could have reached out to the mines and started the technical discussions. You knew a few people, but that wasn't the pivotal point. You had to learn how to sell. You had to learn how to network. You had to learn the soft skills, the people skills around it. What made you pursue and continue it? Because obviously you've now thrown yourself in the deep end and it's time to swim. What made you say, I'm not going to fail at this?
Yeah. I had to tell myself that constantly. I had to go back to the times where I felt like throwing in the towel, going to that, what was that site for job searches that we had back in the day? It was Pinet. Oh yes, that was one I used to use, And I had those moments, when things were rough. I had those moments where I was like, there's no work coming in. I've reached out to the people that I know and said, this is what we do, send them the company profile, which looked terrible at the time. And nothing was coming. But what I felt was the how do I call it? The awakening was someone giving back to Pinet. Whenever and this is not a story I've made up. I know it may sound made up. Every single time when I felt like throwing in the towel, especially going onto peanut.co, searching GIS jobs, there would be a phone call. Either a phone call or an email, and it would be maybe something small, but at least it would, it would be work. Every single time. And I think for me, I believe in the universe sending these messages, right? I think that was it. It was hard to accept at first to say, yes, you need to keep on doing this. But I'm like, no, but it's hard. Not many people can put up with this. Not having income for 3 months, 6 months, and there's still nothing that looks like it's coming. Not many people can put up with that. And where you find yourself that you're literally borrowing from mom, from sisters, from brothers, from friends.
Yeah.
A little bit there, a little bit there. And that's another thing that I'm grateful for. So I must thank those people that, for that, in case I never get to write that book. But yeah, so there would always be that. And I think for me, that was one of the ways that I feel that the universe was reinforcing that this is where you're meant to be, right? So that was the first part. And then secondly, really just getting out of that shell again and really saying, look, I'm going to phone so-and-so. We used to work together. I know now they're running their own consultancy. But also now, later on, with the partners that help other small businesses to grow, where you now start learning, how to hone those skills, those soft skills. That played a very big role now to start bringing in, the work and getting us out there, how to market yourself, how to really sell, And that's something that I still do every day. I always say that, for us entrepreneurs, the selling just doesn't stop. It doesn't matter where you are. And it doesn't mean stop, rock up to a place and just start selling. But just sharing your story,
Yes.
Sharing your story, you find that it actually shifts to that. Grab that opportunity to share about what you do, wherever you are. I mean, I love hosting, for example. And some of my friends would always say, you always do this. Whenever, if I'm hosting and, people that don't know each other are there, they are going to introduce each other and say, I do this. Because I say that's how you need to introduce yourself if you're sitting around the table. Because you're sharing your story. And sometimes it just takes meeting Heaton at a dinner table to find out that, actually they are looking for an asset management solution that's going to capture all the land assets for a specific client. Can you help them? Yes.
I like how you've summarized that your lessons have been, firstly, believing in the universe and what a higher power above us all has in play for us, and also being mindful or conscious about the signs that's being sent to you. But then also being smart about it is never stop selling. And selling doesn't have to be direct, like how you mentioned. Use it indirectly with a circle of network of friends who know you very well and can do and refer on to other people. Yes. Like that. Small things like that build the community in the large spectrum, and that's a crucial point that you've made. So thanks, Ndilisa. It was a very lovely conversation with you. I really appreciate all the insights and the wisdom, and I hope that I get to see you share this story with a lot more other entrepreneurs, Absolutely. Especially females. I think there's a lot that many can look upon you. And we will be sure to keep you in mind for some of our future events. I think you've got a story to tell for many other entrepreneurs that we plan to be hosting in future.
I'd be happy to share. And thank you. Thank you for having me. This was quite interesting and quite fun.
Appreciate it. Nice. So to all our viewers out there, I hope you really enjoyed that conversation today with Ndilisa. I think there are some pivotal key lessons each of you can learn from there, especially if you're a female entrepreneur. Don't forget to hit that follow button on all our social media pages, and be sure to stay tuned for other content that we will be sharing, especially around the educational and inspirational side of things. Free diagnostics are also available for you if you're wanting to understand where you are in your journey before getting into the entrepreneurial spectrum and what potential areas of risk that you need to be mindful of. Reach out to us and drop us an email at info@theunconventionalca.org, and we'll happily get our team to come through and support you. Till next time.